Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going, close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back to the Pick and Go podcast, your one-stop shop for all things rugby union and in particular Super Rugby. And Pity, welcome back to the studio.
Great to be back.
Good. It was a super round.
It was on the weekend. It was a great weekend of footy, to be honest, and an amazing vibe too.
Right. We'll
dive into
dig.
that.
Yeah, we'll dig into that a wee bit deeper, but we better head north first so we can welcome in our other dear guest, Jeff Wilson, who was also down there as part of the Sky Sport commentary team for Super Round. Welcome in, Jeff.
Yeah, great to be with you, lads. Great to see you. Look at your smiling faces. I saw Pity down in Christchurch. He managed to make his way down there. At some point, I heard you were there Thursday, Paulie, but then bugged out on Friday. But I tell you what, it was a great weekend. I'm still in recovery mode.
Well, let's stay with Super Round. And before we get to all of the action that happened on the actual park, Jeff, how was the overall weekend? I mean, sometimes it can be a wee bit difficult. Once the home team has played, things can dissipate slightly, but it didn't look like that was the situation this time.
3 very different days. Clearly, the opening night was special for everyone in Christchurch, for the city that's been through so much, to then finally have something that I think has brought everyone together, but also have it right in the centre and the heart of the city was amazing. And then Saturday, it was the business of some serious rugby needed to be played because there were some pivotal games. And then Sunday had a sort of a festival feel around about it. And there were so many people who came from out of town. I think that's where the big success is, and the success story is the fact there were people that came from Australia, that come from Perth, that came from, they weren't even playing the Force, and people came from Perth to come to Super Round. So if you think about that as a whole, it was a raving success. 3 sold-out days. And there's no real point comparing it to Melbourne, because Melbourne's not a rugby city. One, the fact they haven't even got a team anymore, and it never captured the heart of the competition, whereas this one did. And it had a lot of purpose. Was it perfect? No. But was it a great starting point and great fun? Absolutely.
Pity, you were also down there, obviously. How did you find it in terms of the atmosphere and the action off the field?
Oh, it was, like Goldie said, parts of it was festival-y, but I think it was just the fact that people actually came from afar. Like, I think there was a guy that came from the UK to actually come to the Super Round. And not only that, the fans got to interact with the players in signing sessions. There was a lot going on, and the city itself, just talking to locals, how happy they were to finally have a stadium after what was supposed to be possibly 4 to 5 years.
Just a few years.
A few years. Although, the best thing about it was they could start fresh and make it work in their favour. And to have something close to town is something special, because most stadiums you've got to either jump in a taxi or walk a mile just to get to the local watering holes and things like that, whereas this one was only 400 metres down the road to where all the festivities could have been after. And it was just, I guess, very enjoyable to see all the smiles.
Jeff, there's if people don't know Christchurch, there's I guess the Strip, where a lot of bars and restaurants are. They had a fan zone down there as well, and as Pity said, everyone then pretty much walked in a straight line down to the stadium, and it took 5 minutes maybe. And
you could see it from everywhere. You can see it from every different angle. It's interesting you talk about how long it took to get constructed, because had the rest of the city not have taken shape first, then all of a sudden it might have been an outlier of the fact you wouldn't have got the full experience. Whereas there's been so much development in the last 4 or 5 years that now this was almost like the crowning piece of it getting finished. And so all of those things you wanted to do in terms of the walk, in terms of going and getting food and going to bars and restaurants. And, it is it's an easy walk. Look, they got 3 perfect weather days too. Like, let's be honest, it couldn't have been any better. It didn't actually demonstrate the fact they had a roof for a reason. It was the only ththing the roof was bringing in sunlight. But so all of the things that you got to experience, and you talked about people coming from overseas. There's no other opportunity to see all of those teams bar one in one spot. So if you're a Super Rugby fan and you've never watched teams play live, or you've never been to certain places, this was the perfect opportunity. If you are from the UK, you got to see 10 Super Rugby teams play and do their business. And like I say, they did signing sessions. I just think they'll get better at it. I think the city will get better at it. And it was still great. Field held up incredibly well. Like, there'd been no games played on this. And when we were finishing off doing a breakdown right after the last game, they were doing they were just starting to tidy things up. They were mowing it there and then, and you wouldn't have known there'd been a game on. So to me, massive credit to those people, the grounds people, knowing that they would have been nervous on Friday morning going, we don't want to see turf flying everywhere, and we don't want to see damage by day 2. Well, it ended up being perfect for everyone.
Yeah, the pitch did hold up very, very long. And as you mentioned, Pity, it took quite a few years for this to happen. The temporary Apollo Projects Stadium was only supposed to be for, 4 or 5 years. But I guess that there's that old saying that good things take time. And I think that the stadium that they've come up with and the location for it is... Well, it's right up there. It's close to perfect in terms of being able to access it from the centre or the central city. I just wonder if it's absolutely hosing down on a game night. It's very hard. There's not a lot of cover when you before you get to the ground, sort of thing. So I don't know whether they can improve that. But overall, the actual facility was very, very good.
Oh, I don't think that'll matter to people. I think if they'll go through that weather to get to the stadium, because it's a beautiful stadium to be in. I guess even, I don't know if everyone knows it, but, having an ex-player be a part of that construction or the design of it through Al Baxter, you never would have thought an ex-player would be doing something like that. But, I mean, what I found really good was my biggest one was I just wanted to experience the stadium and the atmosphere. On Friday night, it was amazing. I went on Saturday to the 2 games on Saturday. Although the seats weren't as full as Friday night, but it was still a great atmosphere to be involved in. I mean, not only that, I got to see Scribe live for the first time in a long time at half-time on Friday night, and how good was that? I mean, the entertainment across the 3 days was good, and I think just all in all, I thought it was just great. I would have, if it did bucket down, I still would have gone along to the event, because it's a beautiful, beautiful arena.
I'm glad you bring up Scribe, because obviously they're going to be competing for a number of concerts to be held down there. And I thought the acoustics inside the stadium for Scribe were top notch, which sort of, I guess, it means now that Dunedin and Christchurch will probably be fighting for the same sort of, I guess, music acts who come to New Zealand. I don't know if they would go to both Christchurch and Dunedin. I'm sure there'd be, if it's a big enough band, I'm sure there'd be enough, I guess, demand out there to be able to go to both. But there could be a wee bit of a battle in terms of getting top-notch musical acts, and I'm guessing that Christchurch might win out on that one, because I don't know if you ever played at Athletic Park, Jeff, but
yeah, I'm that old.
The Upper Millard stand, yeah. The Upper Millard stand at Athletic Park, it was very, very steep, and I can tell you the upper deck at One New Zealand Te Kaha Stadium is also very, very steep as well. but it means you get a brilliant view of the entire ground and stadium. So
without the swaying.
without,
Oh, the
the
Millard
southerly
stand
won't
was
move.
frightening. It was frightening up the top of that thing. I mean, I couldn't even imagine
Yes.
being up there in horrific weather. Like, I just, like you could almost, if you went to the back of it, you could look over, like, there was no safety things. You could look over the back of it and look down. It was absurd, that stadium. But yeah, you're right. There was. I'll just say this: like there's a lot of people throwing out words like world class. Now, you've got to be very, very careful. Is that if you go around the world and you see some of the great stadiums, that they are better than what we've created in Dunedin, Christchurch. But what they've done in Christchurch is they've made the most of every dollar they had. I mean, that's what it came down to. Is there wasn't an endless supply of money. I'm sure there'll be a lot of things they would have loved to have done. I personally would like to have seen a completely enclosed, all full seats, all seats right around, rather than having the concrete platform at the end. Now, I know that's designed for music, but for me, I know they can get another 5,000 seats in there. I think for the test match when France arrived, but I would like to have seen it complete, in terms of that regard. Put the actual concerts on the grass like they do at other stadiums. It hasn't got all of the bells and whistles. It's not, it's not state of the art, because that's not what they could afford. But what they have done is they've made the most of everything, and they've come up with something that is incredibly functional for New Zealand. And that, I think is the important thing, that it's going to work on so many levels, and they're going to, hopefully over time, they'll add things to it, which will make it, I think, stand up when you compare it to some of the great stadiums around the world.
Right, let's get to the action on the field. And we opened up on Friday night with the Crusaders taking on the Waratahs. I'm guessing that Dallas McLeod will be a quiz answer in the not too distant future on who was the first ever player to score a try at One New Zealand Te Kaha Stadium. In the end, look, the Waratahs put up a very, very good fight, but the Crusaders just had a wee bit too much class across the field. I thought their backline functioned very, very well behind a forward pack that gave them a wonderful platform to work off. Jeff, if you look at that first up game, the Crusaders are building nicely again, would you say?
Yeah. I'll just quickly go on the Dallas McLeod thing. I'm pretty sure whoever it does the questions on the Spates bottle cap, right, was like the Masters. They were getting ready to, in the golf, they were getting ready to describe who was the first try scorer, at One New Zealand Stadium. Coming to the game late for Sevu Reece. Funny enough, you could see Johnny McNichol have a wee dummy before he gave the nut. Like he hit it, and he's got some serious speed, and he was thinking, I might be able to get there. And then he double clutched it, going, well, if I throw an early one and they run off, I'm on here. And they didn't run off. So he had to give it. And, he got interviewed earlier in the day, and he'd already talked about the fact, well, if I get a sight for the line, it's 50-50, maybe I'll have a crack. But he did the right thing, and it was great for Dallas McLeod, of course, who's leaving the Crusaders at the end of the season, heading overseas. The Crusaders were slow to get going. The Waratahs, they were disappointing again for another performance, another week. Look, we all wanted the Crusaders to get the first win, right? That would have been the worst result for anything, but for all of their history and legacy, they did a really good job of getting themselves across the line. It was a critical win for them in the context of the season. It was never going to be easy. A lot of emotion attached to it. I think this might be the catalyst for them to trying to kick on now, but a lot of that's going to come down to their health of players. So we'll see how that plays out, but a good result for them. And they celebrated, I'm sure, on style on Friday.
Right, we're very lucky to have Ben Searle of Searley Talk Sports join us. Once again, welcome back in, mate. I know that you were down enjoying the atmosphere that was Super Round. Just your overall thoughts on how things went off of the field.
Oh, it was epic. I was only there on the Sunday, but I loved it. And by all accounts, the Sunday was perhaps the quieter day, but it was still a great crowd, great atmosphere. I honestly think it is one of the best venues I've watched live sport at in terms of I walked around the stadium and watched in 3 different parts, and I had an amazing view every single time. I think the food, I think they've nailed pretty much everything. So I loved my time there. I was a little bit gutted I wasn't there on the Friday night to experience it when it was 100% jam-packed. But yeah, the people of Christchurch, I wouldn't say lucky because they've earned it, but they have a great facility there, and I'm stoked that we have something, a venue like this. That All Blacks first test down there is going to be insane.
Right. We were talking about the Crusaders Waratahs, Pity, and I guess your overall thoughts on that performance by the home team. As Jeff said, it would have been a catastrophe if the first game was a loss. But they even though they got behind early on, and were the Waratahs just a wee bit too conservative? Didn't they take a couple of penalties early on? Yeah.
Maybe they were trying to get their name in the books for the first point scored.
Oh, we got the first penalty.
Don't worry, there was bloody a few Crusaders supporters that were pissed off that the first person to score points was going to be a Australian. But look, I thought the Tars played well enough. They just didn't capitalise on a lot of opportunities. They had a lot of key moments in the game, but they just couldn't capitalise on it. Discipline could have played a big part too, but in saying that, they still managed to score points in that when they had a man down in that first half. But I mean, I guess, this was definitely a game where the Tars could have got the job done over the Crusaders, because a lot of emotion involved in this over the weekend, especially for the Crusaders and the people of Christchurch, finally getting a facility like they did, and to top it all off, they'll the players themselves would have had to make sure that they got the job done, but it wasn't easy. I mean, 14-13 at half time. There was probably a few words to try and make sure that they get early points in that second half to try and make sure they get momentum in their favour and hold on from there. But it wasn't easy. I know there was Havili who spent 10 minutes in the bin as well. But I mean, in terms of outcome, it's the best outcome for Christchurch that the home team won the first game in the first fixture, and not being, I guess, a bottle top, saying who's the first Crusaders team to lose at home on their new stadium.
You might have to wait a long, long time before we get a bottle top that has that question on it. Surly, it can be a bit of an overawing occasion. Something as big as this, especially for the home team, sometimes it can get to them. But it didn't seem to affect the Crusaders. They took 5 or 10 minutes to get into the game, but then once Dallas McLeod scored that first try, I don't think they really seemed to be in too much danger. They were behind until right on the whistle of halftime when they scored that try, and then needed the conversion to go ahead of the Waratahs. But I think once they came back out in the second half, it was business as usual for this Crusaders side.
Yeah, I think the second half, that forward pack just rolled up their sleeves and dominated, right? I thought Dom Gardner was extremely impressive. I think Leicester looked really good at 7. I thought Christian Leo-Willie was good. I think their loose trio worked well. And then when you got Cody Taylor, Fletcher Newell up front, I think their full pack really set the platform for the second half. And it was interesting. I was talking to Jimmy Marshall on the weekend, and he mentioned that he still doesn't think it's quite hit for them, that this is their home ground moving forward. He said the weekend Super Round, it felt like a bit of a festivity, and it's kind of just sinking in now that this is actually their new home ground and they're going to be playing all their home games there, because it did have a different vibe to it that weekend, right? It probably would take a little while for it to sink in for the players, but I think that second half, that forward pack just took matters into their own hands and gave good ball for the likes of Macca Springer, Dallas McLeod and co to carve up. But yeah, that Leicester, I tell you what, I thought he looked pretty good in the 7.
Goldie? 7 jersey, Leicester Whanganuku. Your thoughts on how that went?
Well, the weekend, I think he was player of the match. If you think about the overall performance, I was impressed because there was some things that he did really well that wouldn't have been instinctive for him as a player. Because when you're coming off a set piece and having to fill, the defensive roles in and around the first, second, and third ball carriers. I think the great thing was he's got a natural nose to get his head around the ball anyway, around and getting close to the action. And he had a real desire. I think he's got a real desire to be involved in the game physically. And I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he was finding that was the part that he found frustrating. He's come back from France. He was heavily involved in a lot of contact stuff, whereas he probably wasn't touching the ball as much as he would have liked. Well, he had every opportunity to do that on the weekend, and I think it's a great job by him, and it's a great job by the coaching staff, because they would have had to change their game plan. He's clearly not a line-out option, so they then had to go to their six-man, and it still operated really, really well. So, I mean, it's a big tick. Does he play at 7 this weekend against the Hurricanes? I'm not 100% sure that's going to happen, but if they did, I look forward to seeing it. Like that, if you're talking about wanting to have storylines and something to watch, yeah, because this is a different beast when you're up against Du Plessis-Kirifi and Peter Lakai, and whether it's Braden Yosse or Devin Flanders. Like, man, game on. So what they do from here will be very, very interesting.
Right, Pity. Seeing as Jeff brought up the Hurricanes, they were the next game up at One New Zealand Te Kaha, and they put on a wee bit of a show against the Brumbies, who bookies thought would be able to keep this one fairly close. In the end, it was a fantastic display by the Canes, and in particular, Fehi Whinianga-Nofo, who, crikey, he scores tries almost at will. It's amazing, and he's heading offshore at the end of the season.
I think part of that's to do with the work that they do sort of in tight. They're holding defence, making them come in so that they can't actually get the pass across. But when you've got the likes of Geordie, Proctor, who isn't scared to actually throw those long balls out to those edges, or even Ruben Love, to that fact, the skill set in terms of how they've been throwing these, it's always on the button, and he's able to get either catch it on the fly, or he's catching it and he's got time to analyze what's in front of him on those edges. But a lot of it goes down to all the hard work that's been done up in the middle. Boys carrying hard, holding defenders in close, and then once they make the read that they can actually go backdoor, get a quick pass, and then throw those long balls, is because they've actually had to bring people in. But most systems at the moment are backing that they can get across and cover that long ball. They do to an extent, but when you've got someone that's sharp on his with a left foot step, man, it's not easy to be on that wing and to finish like he has been. He's got everything: a left foot step, a goose step, and the strength to finish the job. So, if I was him, I'll be accrediting a lot of that work to the boys that are doing all the hard work up in the middle for him to express himself on those edges.
Surly, what did you think of the performance of the Hurricanes against arguably the best Australian team in the competition, although that sort of, I guess, title took a wee bit of a knock on the weekend?
Yeah, I thought the Brumbies were pretty disappointing, to be fair, as good as the Canes were. I don't think they were at their best or far from it. I think the roof certainly suited the Canes. I just love watching them play. Like Pity said, they're the middle of the paddock. They're really impressive. The skill sets of their forwards, those little small passes between each other, they always get gain line. And then their edge attack has to be the best in the competition. They have strike galore out there, and just the way they can manipulate defenses, but also, like, they've played this shape the whole year and they're still just tearing teams apart with it. And it comes down to skill set, execution, and just being able to implement their game plan on others. So, yeah, they're a really impressive team to watch. I'm licking my lips at the thought of this game this weekend, because it'll be interesting to see what the Crusaders come up with to try and shut them down. But, yeah, I thought the Brumbies were pretty poor, to be fair. The Canes were good. And again, Roigard Love, all their big names stood up. Du Plessis, outstanding on his 100th game. So, yeah, a massive box tick for the Canes for sure.
Jeff, earlier you said you were quite old, so I'm hoping that you might remember a player named Bernie Fraser, who played on the wing for Wellington years and years ago. And Fehi Whinianga-Nofo sort of reminds me of him a wee bit. I think Fihi might have a few more weapons in the old cachet. But in terms of his individual performance and the Canes' performance, it sort of sent out a wee bit of a warning to other teams.
Good long question, so I forget the first part that you mentioned. No, I didn't play against Bernie
Is that
Fraser.
because you're old and your memory's going? What's the go?
There's a whole lot of things going on right now, Surly. Look, I remember Bernie Fraser well. Thank you very much. And when that great Wellington team through the 80s, they had Murray Mexted at 8 and obviously Stu Wilson on one wing and Alan Hewson. And you talk about brand of rugby. Stephen Pokiri played first 5. Good Southlander, you see. Remember that vividly. But you go through the way they're playing, and pure and simply, they're playing to the width and they're stretching teams out. And they're getting a lot of one-on-one opportunities. And their first instinct is to counterattack and shift the ball. They always throw one big pass to shift the defence, and then they play from there. They're doing some simple principles of the game that, you know what, we used to do before we started box kicking the crap out of it. And so, you know, they deserve all the success they get. And if I'm an outside back and I know Fihi's leaving, guess what? I'm ringing up the Hurricanes and saying, can I come play for you? You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, the other tries of the game, Josh Morby scored 2 and Johnny Rover scored 1. Like that 7 tries, all scored by the outsides. Look, this is a back line that is incredibly well constructed. Harkin's a really, really good footballer at the back. But you got to start asking the question about the combination of
Roygard.
Clearly, at 9, you've got Roygard, you've got Love at 10, you've got Barrett at 12. And Proctor's doing a great job as well. But the distribution's coming from their 9, 10, and 12. And so, you know, I've got to start thinking about the next level and whether or not we believe that type of distribution. Because the way they throw Piri, the way they throw flat and hard, deep and hard. This ball's flying. It's getting to where it needs to go at speed. It's not going in the air slowly. And so if it gets to space quickly, it makes it really hard to shut it down defensively, because if you get putting air in it, you're getting spot tackled, hitting at the same time. That's not happening with them. Everyone's got time on the ball because their depth and distribution is outstanding at Super Rugby. But let's be honest, Brumbies were woeful. God, they were bad. When they yanked their first 5 at half time, the best player they had was Edmed, who came off the bench in the second half. He actually played really, really well. The rest of them... Yeah, exactly. Developed his game at North Harbour in a season. Just takes one season. But yeah, seriously, they were poor. And they've been poor for a couple of weeks. The Brumbies, their season is starting to flow.
But Roygard, his performance, as Jeff alluded to, the service from the forwards and the base of the scrum was superb, and that allowed the outside backs to show the fans exactly what they can do.
Not only that, just the organisation that he's got. You know, when it's his time to be the organiser, you know, he's organising on the fly, making sure that the forwards know where they're going. Once the ball is meant to be released out to the backs or even to the pods that are a bit wider, then, you know, he's demanding good quality ball at the breakdown, rather than him going in there trying to rip the bloody ball out. It's out, you know, they're doing their best to score the try, put the ball out there so that he can actually get there, deliver it as quick as he needs to, and then carry on to the next phase. And, you know, in terms of confidence and quality, I think the way that they're playing is helping his game go that next level, because, you know, most halfbacks, if you've got a pack that's not getting you over the advantage line, you're going backwards a lot of the time, whereas majority of the time with the Canes, he's either going across the field or he's going forward, anticipating that they're going to make the break, and he's running those good lines that most halfbacks know how to run. Wasn't one of my strengths. Anyway,
what, just running or?
Did you say running?
Batman's track. Up the fat man. I'm taking old school arc when I was playing.
You're saying you're not going to run a sub 2 hour marathon then? That's not you? Right.
Definitely not.
Okay. Next game up, and it had Surly's Blues taking on the Reds. And if the weekend wasn't like exciting enough, the players decide to work a wee bit of overtime here. We need Bowden Barrett to separate the two teams and super point, golden point. You call it whatever you want, but surely, are you concerned with the way that the Blues sort of let the Reds back into the game when they should have had it wrapped up in the 80 minutes?
As a Chiefs fan, no, I'm not concerned, Paulie. I'll pull you up on that straight away. Jeez, you love stirring. I'll let you know too, Takapuna beat Northcote on Friday night, and I could almost hear your cheers from over here, mate, even though you were down in Christchurch. So, yeah, good on you for landing that jab there. Look, Blues, I thought the Reds' loose forward trio were one of the standouts. In that second half, they were outstanding. I loved watching Zahn Sullivan do his thing. He keeps going from strength to strength, and it's great to see him banking games without injuries as well. I thought this game was going to be a little bit more comfortable for the Blues, for sure. I still think the Reds showed, though, that they can be a dangerous footy side, and under the roof almost suits them as well. Like, they have some great running threats, and they play an up-tempo game. So, yeah, this one would have really come back to hurt the Blues if they had lost it. I think it's one that you just bank the points from and you move on, because in a few weeks' time, no one will remember that you got this done in Super Point, and it just counts as the win. But, yeah, there's still plenty of work-ons there for the Blues for sure. Yeah, furious finish there from the Reds, and they almost got the job done. But, yeah, well done to Vern and the Blues. I don't think he'll be that stoked, but at the same time, a win's a win.
Jeff, you talked about tries being scored out wide with the Hurricanes. The Blues scored a few tries out wide as well, and Zahn Sullivan was a major recipient of that style of play.
Yeah, good player. I think he's had a really good season, like Surly said. He's a really big man, and when he gets going and at speed and at tempo, really hard to bring down. And Filippo Dungunu's not a bad defender, but a couple of times he just didn't get anywhere near close enough to him when he's going at speed. And Dungunu, if you run straight at it, no problem. He'll absolutely wipe you out. But when you're moving the speed that Sullivan was running at, and it's for a long striding man, sometimes it's hard to get that speed up, but he was doing a lot of really good things timing-wise. Oh, look, this could have been catastrophic for the Blues if they'd lost this game, because the Reds, I don't think, were great either. And if you go back and track, I'm going to call it out here, the kicking game of the Blues was poor. Basically, you do that to a good side. If they kicked like that to the Hurricanes, they're conceding 50 at least. They kick straight to hand. If I'm the Blues, they need to seriously look at their game plan, and particularly their kicking game. And because it looks like they've gone back to Surly Pity to the 2 years ago. They won a title on the back of defence, and they've decided, we're going to try. It looks like they're going to try and do that again. And I just think there's teams that have got too much attacking ability in this season. They'll get carved up. And they're not the same team. And I think health's an issue for them as well. I'm just looking at the bench in particular. There's young guys. You've got young front rowers starting already, let alone then their bench is young in the front row. And I think and I listened to a podcast this morning talking about basketball, about the playoffs. So it's very similar in rugby. If you've got a weakness at the playoff part of your game, you'll get found out. When you get to the knockout stuff, through the season, you can get away with it like the Blues did on the weekend. You get a quality opposition and your scrum doesn't operate well and you line out as falters, and if your kicking game's poor, you will lose a playoff game. So they've got to look at their game right. It doesn't stack up to me as a game plan that's going to win the competition.
Pity. Blues get the points, but there were nervous times for them. Are you, as a neutral observer, concerned about how they may go when it comes to playoff time?
He's indeed wore the jersey proudly. Thank you very much. The Blues, come on.
Oh, sorry. Pity Wupu, former Blues player.
I'm sitting on the chair, not
So your Blues.
Yeah, better.
What did you think?
Yeah. I thought, a lot of it's been said. They were lucky to get the win on the weekend. I mean, they did a lot to create opportunities to blow the game out, but they just didn't. They just, for some reason, decided to let the Reds back into the game. And full credit to the Reds, they dug deep, especially in that second half. I don't think anyone would have thought that they were going to come back after those first two tries, or one or two tries in the second half. Everyone probably would have thought that this was just going to be a blowout, but they They had patience, stuck to their structures and game plan in their second half, and I thought they were a bit hard done by on that penalty in the overtime. But I mean, I thought the Blues almost pretty much blew that opportunity. But what I did enjoy watching was, the battle up between Paddy Tuipulotu and Salakai. Man, those two. I was watching the game live, and those two were literally trying to
line each other up every time.
One was trying to smash the other person on defense, and the other one was trying to run through it. The amount of times I saw them run at each other was awesome. Like on both sides of the ball, Paddy will have a crack at trying to put Salakai Loto on his ass, and then vice versa, and then they're trying to smash each other. I mean, when you talk about trying to stamp your authority, those two were definitely trying to get the upper hand against each other, and it was awesome.
Can I just take that question a wee bit further? Was when you were playing, was there an opposition halfback that you always wanted to run the ball at, or when he ran the ball, you wanted to smash him? All of them?
No, not really. Maybe Gregan in my first year, because he made me feel like I was useless, telling everyone what was going to happen. I'm like, hang on, mate. How do you know what I'm going to do?
That is going to happen.
How do you know I'm going to kick it? How do you know I'm going to run it? I'm going to pass it. So, but that's just because it was good at his bloody job, been around for quite some time and being the GOAT as well.
What about Jeff Wilson? Was there a winger that he always loved to line up? Eh?
Did you watch me play rugby? Like, mate, I was a copybook tackler. To go low, drop them on the, No, was there ever? I love great competition, and don't get me wrong. Like, one of the things about it is you want to be challenged, right? And here's the funny thing: it wasn't about smashing Jonah; it was just tackling Jonah. You just thought to yourself, if I achieve a tackle today on Jonah, I'm winning. My stock would go up. So as much as I knew when I played against them, there was so many things to be afraid of. There was also but if I make one good Jersey pull and then I'll drop down a little ankle tap or a judder bar or whatever it might be, everyone, honestly, because anyone that tackled him in those days got massive ups. Anyone that, made a tackle on him. Anton Oliver did 3 tackles on Jonah back to back to back at Eden Park, and all of a sudden his stock as a defender, he was one of the best defenders in world rugby. So you look at it from that point of view. Sometimes you're just winning by making a tackle, and that was my philosophy against the big fella. So don't get me wrong. And then it was the fact that I just ran away from him, so he didn't get the chance to demolish me. He was the master of the horse collar tackle, where he'd just grab you and then just ragdoll you into touch, Jonah. My battles are very different on the edge. There was no coming out of the line and hitting anybody. It was hold and push, and every so often I'd tackle the touch judge.
Mine wouldn't even be halfbacks either, because they'd never be in the front line. It'd be trying to
tackle one of the forwards.
And if they got through, I'm getting pissed off at the front line for missing the tackle.
Why did you guys miss?
Goes, this is going to hurt.
Pity was the best sweeper in world rugby. Oh, he's just the sweeper.
He was the last line of defence when you didn't need it.
No. That was someone else.
Right, let's stay with Goldie, because we're going to have a look at the Highlanders now. They were taking on Moana Pasifika, and they were very, very hot favourites here. Boy. Goldie.
Don't. Let's just not. Can we go to the last game? Because you know how I mentioned how the Blues game plan? Look, honestly, I don't know what to say, because it was, and I saw a few of the Highlanders later on, not later on that night, a little bit later on, and they were almost a little bit in shock about how things just, the closer they get to the try line, the worse they get. Like, it is, and that is it's frustrating. I know I say it in jest, but if you watch them play, there's just a real lack of composure. When they've got try-scoring opportunities. And that separates them from, being a real a playoff team right now. So they've got some real question marks about of staying composed when they get their opportunities. Look, Moana have been really competitive the last 2 weeks, and I've got nothing but respect and admiration for their attitude, their mindset, and they're going to do the same thing this week against the Blues. I think they'll be courageous. But the Highlanders had every opportunity to put this game away early on, and they did nothing to do that. So big question marks on the Highlanders right now. They've got to go play the Drua. Well, that's a massive game, but it won't be good enough what they did on the weekend. This needed to be 5 points. If you're really serious about it, it only ended up being a 4-point win, and in terms of points in the table, wasn't good enough.
But Surly, the Highlander, well, let's look at Moana Pasifika first. And it must be very, very tough for the players with everything that's going on off the field in the boardroom. And yet they turn up and still put on a massive effort against a Highlanders side that was expected to win quite handsomely.
Yeah, and you could tell from before the opening whistle, right, with their cultural war cry, they were right into that one. It was cool to see mutual fans that weren't wearing Highlanders kit were getting around Moana, and even Highlanders fans were cheering every time they did something. And when they can play footy the way they play, with the offloads, with the razzle-dazzle, some of the footwork, the powerful carries, they are a pleasure to watch. Like that try to Israel Leota, that has to be one of the greatest aerial takes. And I spoke to a few people that knew him. They said he grew up playing AFL. Of course, he's come across from the Brisbane Broncos because he wanted an opportunity. Apparently his dad is mates with Tana, so that's how he's ended up at Moana, because he was getting offers for Japan Rugby, for other NRL clubs as well, but he chose to come over here, and he's a talent. He's been playing local footy for East Coast Bays, and there's a few club rugby wingers that haven't been wanting to meet him, that's for sure. But he is a great athlete, and I think he showed that off. He basically pulled off the aerial teabag on Adam Lennox. I don't know if I can say that, but it was impressive stuff. It was impressive stuff. And I tell you what, another player who I think the Highlanders should be looking at, because I thought he tore them to shreds too, was Tupou Ta'iloa. I know their loose forward trio for the Landers is young and it's going to grow over the next few years, but I think he would add another element to their game next year. If you could partner him with a Shannon Frizzell and a Lucas Casey or a Lasanga, I think he'd be a great pickup. He is so hard to tackle. He's that old school 8 frame, and geez, I think he leads the comp for tackle breaks or line breaks, one of those two stats.
I think post-carry meters, I think he's one of the best as well. Yeah. Absolutely.
He needs to be in there. I thought that Vaihu, the other winger, crazy footwork. Like, they are a pleasure to watch playing the style they play. And I think they dragged the Landers into their style a fair bit too, because we saw some uncharacteristic gameplay from the Highlanders for sure. But yeah, I was stoked for Moana. The more that they can keep these games close, I think it just shows how much the jersey means to them.
Pity we're 11 weeks into the competition and we get our first teabag reference. I hope it's the last one we have on the pick and go.
Well, it's an aerial one, which makes it more swallowable. Excuse the pun.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. In terms of the try, the try that Leota scored, I do agree that was very much AFL skill level. And it wouldn't surprise me if the St Kilda Saints are on the phone asking where he's heading next season. But in terms of Moana Pasifika, once again, brave in defeat. And look, the Highlanders got the win, but they're going to have to improve significantly if they are to be any chance of, first of all, making the actual playoffs, let alone going on and winning the whole thing. But your thoughts on Moana first?
Oh, look, I think some of their big names like Whailangi,
Miracle,
yeah, in terms of his efforts to try and, I guess it's not the same as what they had with Ardi in terms of, I wouldn't say desire, but in terms of his reaction, the reaction that the team has, Whalangi's a great leader for their Miracle, in terms of what he does. He does pretty much the same thing as Ardi, but it's just not the same sort of recognition. And then you've got, who is it? Tupou Ta'iloa. Even him, how big was he on the weekend? And if they can actually everything together, utilising their strengths on the attack side of things, it's going to make things a lot easier for them. But in saying that, you've got to turn around and make sure that you make tackles and stop opposition from scoring points. If you're giving away penalties and they're trying to tick the points up through penalties, let them do that. But I mean, as long as you can try and restrict them to not score tries, it'll make things a lot easier for them in terms of, I guess they'll feel that they have, defense. You can turn defense into attack, and if you're able to do that, I think they'll be a lot better for it. But it's definitely going to be tough. 11 weeks in the comp. They've only got, I think it's one win out of everything at the moment. So it's just trying to grow from those 2 weeks of good footy, and then trying to maintain that, which we know is difficult. They don't have, I guess, the players and or depth, I should say, that we've always been talking about. So yeah, I guess for the Landers, they've got to make sure they step it up. It's not going to be easy going to play the Drua
over there.
So
No.
we know how tough it can be over there.
Well, we know how tough it's over. It's in Fiji, Surly, because I think that's where Moana Pasifika picked up their only victory of the season against the Drua. And of course, they went down to the Chiefs in the final game of Super Round. A game that sort of panned out as you would have expected. The Chiefs get out and put some points on, and then you always expect the Drua to score a try or two as well.
Yeah, I didn't expect an in-goal grubber. I've seen the defensive bomb before. I've never seen the defensive grubber. And look, I'm all for ingenuity, creativity, inventing new things. I'm not sure that's one that will make the playbook, though. That was one of the great blunders, but that's what the Drua are, right? Some of the moments are miracles, some of the moments are madness, and that was certainly one. But yeah, I think this kind of played out as we expected. I did think the scoreline might blow out a little bit more, but the Drua had that really good second half period there for about 15 minutes where they dominated, scored a few points, and made this one a little bit closer. At 35 points to 10, I thought it could have been 50 or 60, but well done to the Drua. They didn't fold, and yeah, I think this is expected. This game against the Landers this weekend is big for them, though.
Jeff, the Chiefs remain at the top of the table, and sort of, I guess it was business as usual for them in that final game.
Yeah, but I love watching the Drua play rugby because they've got their ball carrying ability. There's a couple of times there were line breaks by forwards, and man, they've just got some real talent, and they showed that by having a really good win last weekend. They'll be disappointed, I think, a little bit with this. It just sort of, at 14-10, halfway through the first half, when they took the penalty, that was an interesting, point of view where, I don't think they're a kick a penalty team. For them, it's about you need to keep playing because they tend to concede points. Their defence does tend to, lose a little bit of structure that you get later in phase play, and you can score points against them. But this is an important win for the Chiefs. I'll say this, though. The two most disappointed coaches I spoke to after the weekend and knew that they need to be better going forward were actually the Chiefs and the Hurricanes coaches, and Johnny Gibbs and Clark Laidlaw. They were actually, Clark Laidlaw was a bit filthy with how his team had played in that game against the Brumbies. Just beaten them by 30, put 40 on, but I think they're starting to look at some real small, finer details, and their expectations have gone up about if they are serious about winning titles. So I like that. Chiefs did the job. Love watching the Drua play. Look, this for me, I'd say Quinn Tupai just continues every week to be really, really good. There isn't a week that he doesn't do things which are really impactful, and he's not making very many errors in his game at all. So I'm just enjoying watching him show some real class about, over a course of a season, every week that he's fronting up.
Okay, time for a question, and we'll start with you first, Surly. Give me your super player from the first ever Super Round in Christchurch.
I went with Leota just because of that play. That's the try that I think I'm going to remember from this season. I thought that was outstanding work. And I don't know if it was because I was sitting near it and saw it in person and just thought, what the? But yeah, that alone, I think it's recency bias, 100%. But I thought that was an incredible feat.
Okay, Jeff Surley's gone with an aerial teabag. Who was your super player from Super Round?
Well, I didn't think you'd actually say it again, but you did say it again. But I've actually gone, look, it's not often you can, your first time starting in a position and go out there and end up ultimately being the player of the match. So Lester Whanganuku's, I think, performance was outstanding because it would have been easy to have been found out. It would have been easy to have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. It could have been easy to make mistakes and, been singled out as, and to the Crusaders coaching staff's credit, that's a risk that they took as well. I thought Leicester did a phenomenal job, and it's given everyone a little bit of food for thought about what's possible as we go forward. Now, this is Super Rugby. Put it in a little bit of context. This is not international rugby, but I thought Leicester did a great job.
Yeah, Jimmy Marshall said that was the longest selection debate he's had since he's been at the Crusaders. He said that one went on for a long time between the coaches around whether they actually do it or not. And he wasn't sure how he ended up in the 7. He said that wasn't really spoken about. He didn't think it was going to be 7. He thought it was going to be 6. But yeah, an interesting one, right? And it shows how much thought went into it. And it'll be really, really keen to see if they roll it again this weekend.
I'll just say that quickly. The Dom Gardner selection, that balance was perfect. Because Gardner
Dom was unreal,
work, man. He loved to hit people, didn't he? He's a good player.
It's good that you bring that up, Jeff, because sometimes to do well in a tournament or a competition, you have to be innovative. And it reminds me of the Young Guns New Zealand cricket team from, I think it was the early 90s, when we had the World Cup here and in Australia, and they opened the bowling with Deepak Patel, who was a spin bowler, and that wasn't something that had been done prior. And I still remember, I think it was David Boone, looking down the other end of the wicket and seeing Deepak line up to bowl the first or the second over, thinking, what the hell's going on here? Right. Pity Weepu, your super player after all that.
I was going to go with Fee, but I was going to go with Ruben.
Ruben Love.
I thought his control of the game, but just being able to see stuff like live at the stadium is totally different to watching on the TV. Obviously, they don't have the wider view of everything. It's only snippets of the area, but when you're watching live, some of the stuff that he gets through and decision he has to make as a 10, when they're playing backdoor, when to double pump and hold up the ball, and make sure that if he's not in there, that he's organising other people to make sure they get their job done while he's sort of not in the right position. So, yeah, I've gone with Ruben.
Well, I'm going to go with Whinianga Norfolk. You cannot have a player who scores 4 tries in a match, puts on a great all-round performance, and he's not part of the conversation. So I thought we're going to struggle to get 4 different players here, but I'm glad that we have. So we've spread it wide for our Super Round super player for 2026. Right, let's get on to this week's games. And we start off with an absolute banger here on Friday night down at the Tinny House. And it's the Canes hosting the Crusaders at this time. And if I have a look at the odds, I can't believe the Crusaders are $3.50 to win this game, which means if they're $3.50, they're probably about a 9.5, 10.5 point favourite. They are indeed a 9.5 point underdog. So the Canes are $1.27. Crusaders $3.50. They're 9.5 point favourites, the Hurricanes. And the game total at the moment is set at 58.5. We'll start with you, first, Pity. Foo Fighters. What up, Boo?
Were you talking about food? Is that what you're trying to talk?
You know what? I only had a piece of toast for breakfast, so yeah, it is on my mind at the moment. But this Friday night, it's another big game. There can't have been too many times where the Crusaders have gone into a game as a 9.5 point underdog.
No, not at all. But I guess that's credit to the way that the Canes are playing, shifting the ball wide, doing the work up the front there or in the middle of the field, which allows them to express themselves with their skills. So no, I don't think anyone would have expected that to happen. But and so that's going to be a great game. There's going to be some key matchups across the board, not just in the trio. There's opportunities to be looked at selection wise, especially around that front row area, which will be key. And I guess it'll be good to see how much pressure they apply on that combination of 9, 10, 12, and in terms of how much they can function in the game.
Jeff, if the Crusaders to be any chance here, I'm guessing, like Pitty said, they're going to have to disrupt the sort of service that the outside backs are getting from the forward pack and the half back and in first 5'8" and second 5'8". So can they do that?
Yeah, it's there'll be a better defensive team, the Crusaders, than they faced on the weekend, the Hurricanes. So, I think for me, I don't know about Will Jordan's status right now.
Couple more weeks,
right? So that to me is a big loss for them. Look, Johnny McNichol's a good experienced player, but he's not Will Jordan. The matchup at halfback is going to be awesome. Roigard Hotham, I think that'll be massive in regards to the context of this game. And Taha Kemara's doing a good job for the Crusaders. 9.5 is just too much. If I start talking about the odds side of things, I think this will be closer. But I think on form, you have to say the Hurricanes are going to win this game. I mean, it's just they're at home. They're playing great rugby. They're in one piece. Like I've said this for a while now. Just keep an eye when the teams come out about who's a bit banged up or who might not be there. But if everyone's where they were on the weekend, I think the Hurricanes will win this. But I can't see this being comfortable. I just think the Crusaders, and at some point, we might see some adverse rugby conditions. We just don't know. At some point it'll rain. And then the context of every game with the big teams will change. So that to me, we saw a really close game between the Chiefs and the Hurricanes. It was a different contest, right? I'm anticipating a bit more of that this weekend between these two teams.
Surly, do you think the 9.5 is a slightly too generous towards the Hurricanes? Can you see this being a close game as well?
I can see it being close. Much like Jeff, I jumped straight on the weather app to check the weather, and it is meant to be sunny, which does favour the Canes, of course. But I think much like the plan for this week for the Crusaders will be to try and muddy the waters, right? To try and make it a bit more of a dogfight. Use that forward pack to try and make sure that the Hurricanes can't implement the style of play that they want to play. And they're going to try and make it a physical encounter for sure. I just think the Canes at home, no Will Jordan for the Crusaders. I'd back them in as favourites, but 9.5 is a lot. And these are those championship rounds now where the Crusaders historically step things up. They have a nightmare month, but I guess it depends how you look at it, right? There's no better way to come into finals footy than playing the three best teams in the competition. And if they can knock a couple of them off, then they'll be feeling pretty confident about their season come the back end and the business time. So, the first of a big month for the Crusaders. I just think without Will Jordan, it could be a stretch too far. So I'll take the Canes, but I like the plus 9.5.
Well, certainly just on that too, like what the Crusaders usually do in big matchups like this, especially the derby teams, is they get niggly off the ball, and it plays with your head. So that's one area that the Canes need to be a bit smart about. Don't let the Crusaders get into your head like that. And they've been doing it for years. You look at some of the big matchups that done. Sammy Whitelock one year, offside, gets away with it. But it's those little things and moments that they'll just chip away at you. And when it comes to the crunch, you'll end up losing your way of play, and they'll be happy about it because they've got into your head. So if the Crusaders keep that up, I'm sure that they'll make it a tough evening for the Canes. So hopefully they don't buy into it and they're mentally tough and just give it back to them a bit.
Right. I hope the referee's listening to that and he keeps the Crusaders on side this Friday night. down here in Wellington.
No one's managed to do that for like 20 years. What are you on about?
Oh, gee.
Richie McCaw didn't bend the rules, did he? I've never heard that before.
Right.
He's now.
Let's
So you
move
never
on.
know.
Let's move on. And
I
before
wonder
we
what Richie thought of Leicester named in his jersey. He's like, bloody winger in my jersey? What?
yeah, come on, Richie. Even a centre can play in the 7 jersey.
What about Matt Todd? Matt Todd's in there too. I wonder what he was thinking. Mate, you've been playing in my jersey.
Yeah, that's why he wanted him at 6. I bet that's why the selection meeting blew out. Far out.
Right, before we move on to the next game, we've got another question for you guys, and it's around the Hurricanes and the Crusaders. If you were part of the, let's start with the Hurricanes first, Surly. If you're part of the Hurricanes outfit, and you could have one Crusader from the current squad, one Crusader, which Crusader would you bring over to the Hurricanes?
Well, I think the only answer is Will Jordan. Otherwise, you're pretty set, aren't you? Like, and that's no offense to Harkin. I think he's been playing great footy, but yeah, he's probably the one guy. Apart from that, like you could argue Cody Taylor, but Asafa Moore's been great too. So yeah, it's probably Will Jordan for me.
Jeff, are you the same?
Yeah, did you think this question through?
No, he didn't. Clearly not.
You didn't, because I think it's pretty obvious both ways to me. You know, like it's Will Jordan as well. Like, yeah, and I'm going to quickly go the other side. It's Cam Roigard. Like, it's just, you know, like the two best players in each squad. Like, clearly the two guys that you just swap them over. I mean, I don't know about you, Pity, but that's where I ended up. Like, I saw the extra question and I said, well, that's Will Jordan and Cam Roigard. Can we move on? Like,
Yeah, it's like
asking
asking the
is it yours as well, Shirley? Was it
Trailblazers.
halfback?
Yeah, it's like asking the Trailblazers, if you could pick one Spurs player, would it be Wembanyama? Yes, of course it would be.
Like,
Yes.
You know?
Okay, he's seen us, Jeff, give me my question. I still want an answer. Is it Will Jordan? And the other way, is it Cam Roigard?
I'll definitely Cam Roigard on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was thinking more, if it was Will Jordan's out with injury, I was thinking George Bauer to help on the explosive side of. I know with the Canes have got good tight head props, but they've also just lost one of their props too on the tight head side, with Tyrell being out as well. I think it was last week they might have had a concussion, so bringing someone in like George Bauer with in the back half of the game. That's who I thought would probably. I had to think hard and long about this, because bloody hell, if it was my way, I would have said no one.
But thank you for making the question more interesting, Pity. Very happy about that.
Well, what about you? Who's your bloody decision?
Well, you
Ask a dumb question, get a dumb answer, Paulie.
Well, I was going to go Will Jordan and Cam Roigard. Right, let's move on to the next game this weekend, and it's an all Aussie affair. The Waratahs hosting the Force. Force coming off the bye. Look, a wee bit of value. They're $2.15. The Waratahs are $1.67. They're 2.5-point favourites, the Tars. The game total is set at 55.5. Shirley, just to give us one sentence on this game. Are the Force value? Surely.
I'm trying to think which player I'd swap. Nah, yeah, I think the Force are value. What's the? I'd back them in on the point start. I reckon off the back of a bye, they were pretty gutted to be left out of Super Round. So I like them to get the job done here. I think the Western Force have been demanding respect over the last few weeks. They got to go to Sydney and get it done, but I reckon I tip them in for the upset. The Tars, for me, they play well in patches, but then discipline and they just kind of fall off tackles late. So the Force will give you the full 80. I'll back them in.
Jeff, the Force, value for you as well?
Real value. I concur. I'd like to see them win this game. I think they play good rugby. I think they've got some players who are playing really, really well. They had a good win at home a couple of weeks ago. Look, I like them. So, I'd prefer to see a team that's on the improve versus a team that's on the decline. And to me, the Waratahs, who we all held hope out for, have under-delivered so far and underperformed. So I do like the Force in this one. I understand why the Waratahs are favourites, but I think the Force might get this job done.
Pity.
Are the Tars only favourites because they're sitting higher in the table?
And they're at home. I think if this was at a neutral venue, then the Force would be a slight favourite. And if this was in Perth, then the Force would probably be, I would say, a 4 or 5 point favourite. Yeah. So it's a home field advantage, basically.
Oh, geez, I'd back the Force as well. Just, that the week before, obviously not the Super Round, but I mean, the week before, coming off a good one there. And not only that, I feel like they're playing good footy. They just don't capitalise on it. With the Tars, like Shirley said, they're patchy. Good in some parts of the game, and then they go have a cup of tea, and then, actually, we've got to play a bit more footy again.
I've never seen a team so bad after you score points. I've never seen a team go and score a try that's magnificent and then immediately cough up the kickoff and then give away points themselves. They're masters at it.
Right. Next game, we head to Fiji. We'll start with you here, Jeff. The Drua, they're favourites against the Highlanders. They're $1.52. Highlanders, $2.45. The Drua, 4.5 point favourites back home. And the total is set at 55.5. 55.5 doesn't look like enough for mine unless there's going to be some torrential rain. But how do you see this playing out, Jeff? Are your boys value?
I think there are a little bit of value in this because this, I think, essentially for both of these teams might determine where their chances lie in making the playoffs. Highlanders got a really tough run home. They've got just one more home game after this, and they finished with the Tars at home, which is big for them. But then they've got the Chiefs and Hurricanes on the road, so they've probably got to win their next two games. So they've got to win in Fiji. So I think there's a little bit of value in this one. I'm finding hard to split this because I clearly know the Drua at home are a different beast. So I'm more hopeful than confident. Let me put it that way. I think they'd have to be markedly improved from last weekend, the Highlanders, to beat the Drua. I think the Drua have shown that they are dangerous. And 245 is value though. If you like the Highlanders, I think you should get on it. But I'm not going to this game with any sort of confidence on what I've seen. This is more heart than head, I'm afraid.
Searley, what does your heart say?
My heart said the Landers. My head says check the weather, 28 degrees, thunderstorms, and 80% humidity. So the Drua have cooked up a special. Those are the conditions that they love to drag Kiwi teams into. So I'm probably going to back the Drua and just based off that. But I would love to see the Landers get this done just to keep their finals hopes alive. I just think Fiji, those conditions, we've just seen them beat teams and better teams than the Landers, to be fair, in the past in these conditions. So I'll tip them in.
Do you reckon the Landers need to ask Tane for some gloves to just bring the gloves back, or what?
We'll get the legislature about that done when he gets voted into government.
What about the Drua playing under a roof? Their stadiums need a roof. That would ruin them.
They will never put a roof over their field. They will always have it open air, 100%. Next game, Moana Pasifika taking on the Blues. Moana Pasifika, $10 here. The Blues, $1.04. Moana Pasifika are 24.5 point underdogs. The game total is set at 62.5. Where do we go, Pity? 24.5. That's a lot of points.
That is. I think this is the one that the Blues need to make sure they get it right. This is their chance to actually make sure they put in 80 minutes of consistent footy, leading into, I guess, like the knockout competition. They need to make sure they start prepping really well for this. I know Moana, no one expects them to put up a fight, but the last couple of weeks they've put in solid efforts. It's just they haven't quite got over the line on the wins. But I feel like they'll do enough to make it disruptive for the Blues. But the Blues just need to make sure that they nail everything in terms of the structure and style of footy that they want to play. If they're doing it well up the front, up the middle of the field, then they've got to make sure they express themselves on those edges too. So this will be a tough one, but I have a feeling that the Blues should. If they nail it, they'll be tough later on in the back stages of the comp.
Jeff, the Blues giving away 24.5 points. That's a whole heap of points. Can they cover that?
Well, if they're a team that holds on to what happened last year and the disappointment, and they lost at Albany last season, and this is a different Moana team this year than last year. These guys should come out in front. They really should. I know that Moana will stay in it for longer and they'll be in the fight. But to me, the Blues have to come out, absolutely get this right from the very first whistle and put this game to bed early. And if they don't do the job early, they're in trouble because their bench is inexperienced, like I say. So for the Blues, this is hopefully they've had some hard questions and they've got some answers, but they should win this and win it comfortably. 24.5 is a big number, though, right? You've got to play pretty well, and Moana can score some points. So it's a tough ask to cover that. I think they should win, and they should win comfortably. 24.5 is a big effort. I can't see that happening.
Surely, as Jeff says, you've got to play well to cover 24.5 points on both sides of the ball. So picking up the tries when they're on offer and then defensively shutting the other team down. Can you see the Blues putting on that sort of performance against Moana Pasifika this weekend?
I can. I can also see a world where this is a great plus 24.5 pre-team naming, because when you look, they have to go to play the Crusaders, the Canes and the Chiefs over the next 3 weeks after this. And is there a world where Vern Cotter perhaps just gives a couple guys an opportunity to start that normally wouldn't over the next 3 or 4 weeks? I know building into finals is very important, but this is probably his last opportunity to get some guys some rest too. So it'll be interesting to see what type of team they roll out. I would be picking the best 23, 100%, and wanting to make a statement, but you never quite know with load management and all that type of stuff. So yeah, prior to team naming at 4 o'clock on your Wednesday, that plus 24.5 stands out to me, just with the possibility that a few guys might not play the full 80 minutes.
Pity, Blues, Moana. Any chance?
Do you want me to talk about it again?
Oh, did we go with you? Oh, crikey. Let's move on. Let's go to the last game of the round. It's the Reds hosting the Brumbies.
He's still rattled from the aerial teabag.
Everyone's rattled by that.
Reds $1.70. Brumbies $2.10. They're 1.5 point favourites. The Reds game total set at 56.5. Can the Brumbies bounce back here, Sealy?
Nah, I'm going the Reds. I don't know when Kale's back, the superfood. When is he due back, Charlie Kale? Because I think they have missed him massively. But I'm going the Reds.
Jeff, you the same? Going with home team?
Yeah, this game really does hurt the Brumbies because they need to win this. And I don't think they will. I'm with you, Sully. I think the Reds are a much better all-rounded team. Losing Carter Gordon was always going to be a bit of a challenge. McLaughlin Phillips is not bad. They're missing Tate McDermott a lot, I think, the Reds. But from what I saw on the weekend, I'm more likely to see them coming out. If the same two teams that showed up from the weekend showed up, then the Reds win this and win it well, because the Brumbies were no good. So I'm going to take the Reds. I'm going to trust that. But this is hard now because the Brumbies, if they don't win this one, then they've only got 3 games left. And trying to chase down the third place team in the competition is going to be hard. So a lot at stake in this game for both teams.
Pity. Reds,
Shirley?
Brumbies.
Reds or Brumbies? Shirley?
What?
Paulie?
Yeah, what?
Reds or Brumbies?
Reds.
Oh, there we go.
You too?
Moving on.
Oh, okay.
There's a new host in town.
We never get to hear from him, so it's our Reds.
Right. Let's get to some punting time. Let's get where we have to put a bit of money on something. We'll start with you first, Surly. Give us your best head-to-head for the weekend.
I like the Drua at $1.52.
Jeff?
Yes, that's a really tough one. I'm actually going to go the Reds at $1.70.
Pity?
I'm going to go with the Force.
Force at $2.15.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we
Oh, there's money to be made this weekend, team.
there is, isn't there? So
Lucky
what-
it's not real money.
Surely went Drua.
Otherwise, I'm definitely in the minus like last year.
Surely went Drua. Jeff went what? Reds?
Reds.
And you went Force.
Mhm.
Oh, well, I was going to pick two of those teams. Okay. I'm going to go.
Take $1.27.
No, jeez. I'm going to go the Reds. No, I'm going to go the Reds. I'm getting on the Reds as well. So there we go. Okay. What's next? Your best try scorer? And now the teams haven't been named, but we'll have a go anyway. Surely your best anytime try scorer.
Big time player, big game at home, Cam Roygard.
Jeff?
Jock Campbell for the Reds.
He's a big Reds guy this week.
He is, isn't he? Fullback coming into the line, bang.
There's an anti-Brumbies sentiment as well.
Great place, Canberra.
I'm going to go with starting hooker for the Canes.
So probably a Suffle.
Oh.
Probably. Or do you already know?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Just asking.
Dang
just-
cold.
Suffle, and it's not a Suffle.
I'm going to go with Zach Lomax to score a try for the Force.
Wee, nice.
Best winning team and margin. Start with you, Surly.
Force 1 to 12.
Jeff?
Landers 1 to 12.
Wee. Now
What's
this
that
is where the
paying?
money's at.
That is Landers 1 to 12 is $3.60.
Like it.
Actually, can I go Reds 1 to 12? I want to save my Force for the point start.
Yep. Reds 1 to 12, $2.95.
Lock it in, Eddie.
I was just going to go to that.
Well, Reds 1 to 12. You can take it. It means that Surly's less likely to win his bet then.
No, I want to go Reds 13 plus.
Oh,
Yes.
Reds 13 plus, $3.70. Yeah, nice.
You?
I'm going to go Highlanders 1 to 12. Just like, did Jeff take that at $3.60?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Oh, gee. And the final one, your point start, best point start. I guess, Surly, you indicated where you were going.
Yeah, Western Force.
Force plus the points. What was it? Was it 2.5? 2.5. Yep. Jeff?
Moana plus the points.
Moana plus the point. 24.5. Whew.
Ooh. Oh. Very stupid. I'll just go with
I
simple
kind of
one.
want to hear what it is now. Because I've heard some bets and it's time, and they didn't get classed as stupid, so I'm keen to hear this.
Yeah. No, they were actually all of those other ones.
We're going to go Crusaders, weren't you?
Nah, definitely not. I'll just go with
But he's going for a grubber from
Drua.
his own in goal.
I'll go with Drua.
Drua minus. What were they? Were they 4.5? Drua minus 4.5. And I'm going to go with the Crusaders plus 9.5. I think that's just a little bit too big for mine. Right, your best bet for our best bet bundle here. Surely it can be anything. Can be one of the things you've already tipped out.
Okay. I'm just going to back the draw.
Drua, $1.52.
Head to head,
Reds.
yep.
Reds head to head.
Red, $1.70.
I'm going to go with starting winger. I was going to go Fihi, double.
Fehi to get a double.
Get a double.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
That'll be good.
best bet.
I'm going to take
Tizzano. You can take Tizzano if he's back.
I'm going to take the Force. I'm going to take the Force to beat the Warratahs. There we go. We're all done for another week. What are you up to this weekend, Shirley?
This weekend, hopefully a mellow one. The weekend took it out of me. So hoping to just relax on the couch and watch some footy and some NBA and just chill.
Nice. Jeff, you'll be commentating somewhere?
Yeah, I am this weekend. How did we go last weekend, our bets, by the way? Did we any...
I'll let you know later.
Yeah, let us know on later on, you know.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, who's shouting?
Because when you don't recall it, that tells me I know you haven't got it. So that's why I threw it out there. I'm up to Albany. I'm just shooting literally from being down the weekend in Christchurch. I'm up to Albany, Moana Pasifika against the Blues. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, it was a great atmosphere last year. I know it's a different season in terms of where they're at, but I think they'll show out for this game and should be a cracker.
From one great stadium to another. What a treat.
Yes, indeed. Or one complete stable and one half a stadium.
Billy, what are you up to this week? You got some footy?
Yeah, up to Tauranga this week to play Tauranga boys.
Whoa.
And then come back, I think.
How'd the boys go last week?
Yeah, they got humbled a bit. The week before we had the 150th. Got humbled on the weekend, but 2 weeks ago we had the 150th against Nelson. The boys put in a pretty solid effort. Only two.
And then the last week? What happened the last week?
Yeah, they got humbled by Napier boys a little bit.
All right. Yeah.
But yeah. And then be the finals for my boys interclub, so caddying for that.
What, golf?
Oh.
Where's
Are you caddying?
Yeah, I just pretty much just walk around and watch them. Or push
the trundler.
The trundler.
Right.
If not the trundler, golf cart. Depending on what course.
I'm not sure that's the definition of caddying is driving a golf cart. I'm not sure that's the role that the caddy's supposed to play. But hey, if you can get away with it, go for it.
Yeah.
If it's a hilly course, I am not bloody walking that. If it's flat, then yes, definitely I'll just push the trundler.
Oh, is that how Steve Williams started?
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
If he loses his marbles, then try and make him calm him down a little bit. Out of frustration, you know.
Oh, nice.
What about you?
So good.
No, it was a huge weekend. The weekend just gone by, so I'm looking forward to sitting on the couch and watching a whole heap of footy this weekend. I'm sure there will be some very, very good tries scored. Right, that's it from us here at the Pick and Go. Thank you to Surly, thank you to Jeff, thank you to Pity, and thank you to you for tuning in and listening and or watching. And we'll be back again next week with another edition of the Pick and Go.